So yes, I'm sorry, before we make the character, if you'll recall, we ended up making a region with 6 different countries, and I added a couple details after the fact just to help flesh some things in. Not a whole lot of terraforming. I ended up making some deeper water as well, and this kind of like medium to help fill out the crater and to show, well, very literal depth. And then this is going to help us to better conceptualize the world and populate it as we've gone through, and we've added some details, and we'll get to that. What was nice in particular was... that's for tonight. There we go. This right here. In region number 4, there was a dungeon discovered, and this is having adventurers flock to town. This was randomly rolled, and it just so happens this week that we're going to be rolling a dungeon for what we're going to be doing tonight. Or tomorrow, well, I'm sorry, at the end of the week, specifically, when we make the campaign out of the characters and the maps and all of the other ideas that we've worked on so far. And region 4, bink, 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 is right here. And we have a lot that we can work on as far as a dungeon goes, right? We have a little bit of a crater and a waterfalls. This is the natural border. I made this kind of like a, maybe like an Everglades. It's labeled as swamp, but that could be Everglades, things like that, right? A lot of water, a lot of trees. This is very wet here, so we might have some kind of like a jungle style dungeon. There are mountains on either side. We can go mountainous. There's a lot of terrain down here, and we can even incorporate going underneath the waves a little bit. You know, under the sea. You may or may not be making a bit of a concept art for Mesomasca. Please, go ahead. You know what, Dark Wolf? If you're inspired so much by it, then let that inspiration out, right? Get practice. If you're drawing with passion, if you're drawing with creativity, and you have these ideas fueling you, you'll get better. And I'm not saying you're bad, but all of us, as storytellers, DMs, PCs, artists, writers, fry cooks at McDonald's, ride operators at amusement parks. I say that because I live in a town with an amusement park. You know, policemen, firemen. If you're, if you continue to practice what you do, you'll continually get better. And especially if you have passion behind you, you're going to make so much more progress. You'll level up more quickly. So yeah, I'm looking forward. And in fact, you already did a little bit of concept art. I'm going to throw it on the screen real quick before we get going. Because for all of you who may have been following along in chat or on YouTube, Dark Wolf has been on a roll with making some characters alongside our random rolls. For instance, this was our Lawful Evil character we generated a couple nights ago, and his pet snake, Carrot. And Carrot is a... You'd have to watch the video. It'll actually... I think it's already up. Yeah. Look for the multi-class Bard Druid. And he has a pet snake named Carrot, and there's a reason why it's Carrot. And then... Oh, there's some more up there. I don't know why it auto-scrolled back up to the top. That was weird. This was the character that we randomly generated last night, and she'll fit in very well, and it's nice that she has that mask, right? Especially as this adventure might take place in the rather randomly generated island that looks like a mask that we ended up creating. Pouty Lips, hey, it's good to see you back. Are you almost done generating everything? Just about. In fact, we're going to go, right now, we're going to go on to character 4 of 5. After that, we're going to talk, we'll have a little bit of DM talk. You can completely be a PC and still understand it as well, but we're going to talk about the different races in the PHB and how you can customize them and get a lot more flavor out of them, too. Hey, cool, Grim. If you want to share your work in progress as well, please do so. And by the way, these were a couple sketches that were made by Dark Wolf, just out of inspiration, just out of the very basic outline we made of this island and the people who live there and the things going on. We have some of this concept stuff. So I am so glad that it's motivating you all. Now, Pouty Lips, on the heels of your question, was there anything in particular that you wanted to know or that you wanted to see, or is there something that I can help you with? We'll take that back. And by the way, speaking of drawing, here we go. These were some models that Rowmonger, I don't know if he's in here, yet. Rowmonger had a little bit of an existential crisis after pulling some cards from a deck of many things, and then ended up turning from a male dwarven character, like a tinkerer, artificer, whatnot, into a female tiefling one. And so he made a conceptual drawing, and this is what he has posted up as what he has made as a personal character model. And that's pretty cool too. You see all the things that D&D unlocks? Let alone all of the creative writing. I mean, you're getting novel ideas, you're getting module ideas, even one-shot ideas out of this. And, you know, take them and run with them. That's awesome. Yep, your masked tieflings, yep. Oh, that one reminds you of Bleach? It's all pen and paper? Well, if you wanted to take a picture of it, and you wanted to put it on the Discord, you can. Pouty says, was going to see when you're going to start everything. By start everything, do you mean the campaign itself that we're kind of building to, Pouty? Also, is the volume alright for you all? I want to make sure that it's not too loud or anything. So Pouty, as we've been developing... so Mr. Grimm, the computer sound effects, it was something a little bit different. This track is called Starship Medical, and so it's supposed to be that we're in a bit of a sci-fi setting, and so we have some different, you know, bleeps and bloops and things going on in that regard. If it's distracting, I can change it to something more fantasy, though I figured it'd be interesting to mix it up a little bit and put us on a bridge of a starship somewhere and having all these things going on. So Pouty, what we've been doing for the cycle of the channel on a weekly basis is over the course of the 5 days that I broadcast, we build 5 different characters randomly, and we create a story individually. Then at the end of the week on Saturday, we tie them all together in a party in part 1, and then we make a campaign story about it all in part 2. This isn't necessarily a campaign, at least not right now, that we're playing through. These are exercises in storytelling, in being a DM. Maybe they'll give you ideas for characters, or for a dungeon, or for a campaign of your own. And then, you know, so you're full of these fresh and new ideas. You can pick and pull from the stream, or when they're loaded on YouTube at any point in time. And so I want to be able to provide you this wellspring of creation and creativity and feedback and thoughts. And you know what? At some point in time, I might go back and run these as a custom campaign of some kind. Though right now, while I do have a Roll20 account, in fact, I have the Medium account, so I can use that dynamic lighting. And maybe I can do not even just an episode, maybe a couple days or a week just going over things. And even as a tutorial of some kind, maybe just do, not a one-shot, but like a 5-day shot kind of a thing. But we can go through that. But for right now, we're building an archive of characters, and we're practicing challenging ourselves and seeing, can we take random elements of geography? This was born, Pouty, this was born out of chat last night. This was, all we did was look at the first 3 characters that we had generated out of the etherealness of nothing. And especially with the one we created right beforehand, this rogue thief. And we said, you know what, this, not just me, this was a we project. This has all the makings of a political campaign. Well, you know, the past maps that we made might have been a city or a small region with a couple features. If we have a political campaign, especially, look at this, for her bond, she comes from a noble family and one day she'll reclaim her lands. This is now political intrigue, and something we haven't necessarily delved into. We've gone into classic, you know, good guy, bad guy, or supernatural versus the, you know, versus normal. And last week was the crime story. Well, this week we're going to aim our building in this direction of going to different nations in a time of tension, maybe under the threat of war, either internally and or from an external force. And how would you go about making a concept or a campaign set in this kind of a backdrop and using characters like this? Hey, Peru, welcome. Maybe you'll get your dagger back today. All right, so I can pop this stuff back up. Pouty, if you have any other questions for what we're doing or what's going on, please always ask them. This is an open conversation. It's not just me wanting to lecture. You know, I'm not a professor. Oh. The Doubtful Grim. Well, Peru, you're kind of off to a good start, right? But anyway, yeah, you can interrupt anytime with questions, and it doesn't even have to be about what we're doing here. Especially as I build a character, if you have, if you're wondering, well, what does that one thing mean? You know, what are the names of something? Why am I using a certain number? Call it out, and also make suggestions. These are not our characters. In fact, it was really cool, but It's Clark on Tuesday. I'm going to talk about some interaction. I wouldn't have thought to have done this on my own, but it was offered by one of the chatters to take this feat, Ritual Caster. You're like, well, it's a monk. But yet, everything kind of building up to it, right? He's this outlander, he's walking around, and so he's not necessarily magical. He can cast magic, right? Because he has this way of shadow. So that can kind of play into it. He can understand magical concepts. But we took this druid ritual caster, and so as he's gone out into the world and he's learning, you know, the various forms, and he's practicing out in the wilds, this made a ton of sense for the character, and I think it really fleshes him out. Because come on, a monk who can cast rituals, what's that? We have one, and it's compelling in my opinion. Oh, also, yes, Darkwolf did turn lawful evil last night, and she went on a tear. Oh, no one was safe in the Underdark or elsewhere. Though she was finally defeated, and of all the people to defeat her, I think you defeated yourself by falling on your own sword with a 1, if I'm recalling correctly. All right, as per normal, boom, D100, 63, we have another male. Oh, I gotta fix this to just G as the placeholder. Well, anyway, don't mind me. I'm not a part of the patriarchy. I put an M there accidentally because that was off of our first character. So we do have a male. And a male what? A male 2. We're going to roll this again and see which subrace 1 or 2 it is. Odds. So this is going to be subrace 1. Next up, we have alignment, which is going to be a percentile. Actually, it's going to be 2. We're going to change that to a 2 because there's 2 axes. Yes. There's 2 axes of alignment, right? You have lawful, neutral, chaotic, good, neutral, evil. Bada boom. 85-51. We almost had another evil character, huh? But what's very interesting this week, and again, this is all random. You're seeing me do this live. This is going to be another neutral character, putting us at 3 neutrals and 1 lawful evil. Set in a climate of sort of different cultures and different languages and all this. Being neutral in this instance, in this area, is it might give you more flexibility, right? Because you're not adhering to, you know, one country's or one city-state's set of norms and standards and cultures. It's making you a little bit more flexible. And look, this is coming alive right in front of us. This story is building itself day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, right in front of our very eyes. And all we have to do is sit back and connect the dots. Yes, you were the only one strong enough to defeat me. Arc Commander, welcome. Every time I come in the stream, I always like the hats. So, Arc, this is... it's a bit of a collaboration. A friend of mine has a rather large hat collection, and what he'll do is after Halloween, you know how the Halloween places will have sales on different costumes and costume elements. He goes and hits them up, and I have a small collection of my own of some hats and masks. In fact, I still have it around here. I could almost, you know, do double duty and go as a Roman plague doctor or something, right? And so I have a collection, and he does, and he lets me borrow his hats for exactly what you're talking about, you know, for amusing you all. And you know what? This is inspiring, right? We want to get into a character's mindset, or if you want to be a DM, this is like just a little cheap plastic Roman, like a centurion helmet. If you wear this as a DM or even as a PC, you might as well have a full, authentic $2,000 period costume. This gets you into that character as a PC or an NPC, and it just costs you a couple bucks. You have to supply the accent, of course. Oh, Bobicus is in here. Boop, boo. I just came back from a game where I slit a fellow PC's throat while he was incapacitated. Ask me anything. And yeah, Peru, Dark was her own worst enemy. Bobicus, I'm... Oh. The obvious question is why, but I'm gonna hold on to that because I feel like that's the juiciest part of your story. So instead, let's maybe we can Tarantino this or use what's called in media res. And in media res is a storytelling or film technique where you start with the action, and that it catches everyone's attention, right? Because you're like, explosions, and then you build the story back from there. So I'll tell you what, Bobicus, let's do it this way. What's the action scene? Lay it out for us. Both of you are still alive, and what's going on? And if any of you are wondering, I'll spell it out here. That is in media res. There we go. A certain group is considering doing the same thing. Dun dun dun. Yeah, Bobicus, when you share your story, maybe Darkwolf can share hers. Alright, so we have, and by the way, Bobicus, as I know you appreciate this stuff, 85, this is putting us back in neutral territory, so we have another neutral character. This is going to be interesting. And I was just explaining how neutrality in this kind of a setting would actually give you a lot of flexibility. Alright, level is D100. Whoops. I still had it on 2, that's fine. We'll take the first roll, which is a 66. She's not level 66, I'm using it as a placeholder for a second. And, are we using feats? Let's change this to a D100 and find out. Actually, I rolled 2, and here's 2 anyway. 25, nope, we're not using feats. There we go, we're being efficient here. But I will still change that to a 1. Level feats. Now, class is the D12. Oh, the nice golden button. See, like they made the D12, this big fat 12 here, gold, and then the D20 is red, and the other popular die here is red too. Coincidence? We're a 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a sorcerer. If we roll evens, I believe that puts us in dragon magic. And how awesome would that be? And you know what? We're still safe for sorcerers because we naturally roll. There's an area of wild magic too. Oh, it writes itself. So let's see which kind we get. Let's roll this D12 again. Evens. Archetype 2. Bobicus says, Ash, the soon-to-be deceased, has just drunk poison given to them by the cleric head of a monastery after a speedy trial. Oh, that's right. I remember, okay, no. I mean, set up your scene. I remember you were talking about this the other day, and that was a very, that was a very intriguing, that was a very intriguing setup you had. So, do continue, Bobicus Tarantino. Background is a D13. We'll generate that and roll. This is going to be background 11. Und then we actually get to scroll down because we're going to need to consult the charts. Dun, 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 dun. By the way, race number 2 is Elf. We have 2 half-elves, and we have an elven area on the map already. Now we have a full elf, and sub-race 1 is high elf. We had a high elf area. Ah, this works out so well. Can you feel the excitement? Oh, I'm tingly. Perugia gets popcorn. Yeah, settle in here. Bobicus is going to give us our money's worth. Guy, upon discovery of this underhanded execution, is incensed, calls the cleric a mongrel cur, splashes his own poison cup in the cleric's face, and is forcibly restrained by one of the monks. Anyone have any pointers on drawing chainmail? Many circles. Yeah, you just sort of... You can just make kind of a little spiral across. If you don't want to pick your pen up, otherwise, a lot of little circles. You might be able to get away if you make a lot of semicircles, and it just kind of looks like hatching. Is it hashing or hatching? It's like, you know, it's like, I think it's hatching, right? You have cross hatching and hatching and all that. So you might be able to get away with some semicircles or whatnot. What you can also try and find, Grim, is... oh, you're doing this on pen and paper. I was going to say you could probably find some textures that you could easily just sort of like crop out the... crop out the shape of the chainmail shirt. After much pleading from the party, the cleric declares if Ash survives the justice on his own, unaided by the party, it is the will of the gods and he will be allowed to live. Oh, one of those situations. Yeah. Mr. Grimm, just as a heads up, if you just make, like, I don't know, make a patch or a couple patches where you think the light would be hitting your character enough to convey the point, that's a technique that a lot of illustrators and cartoonists often use. If you another good example, think back to maybe a lot of the brick buildings you've seen in comic strips, comic books, or cartoons, and how it'll be red, and they might only draw some bricks on the corner or a little hashing of bricks, like a texture, like as a splash somewhere, just to convey the point. So if you think where the light is gonna hit the chainmail the strongest, just make a bunch of little circles there to kind of convey, yeah, the rest is there. Or you can kind of like draw some like little wavy lines to indicate. So I was getting a little distracted here, but I think this is all solid advice. And Bobicus, I'm still following along here. The alignment was 85-81. 85 was neutral. 81, ooh, chaotic neutral. This is going to be interesting. Chaotic neutral sorcerer. High elf sorcerer at that. Number 2 is wild magic. Okay, we're still safe. Look at this. Because we have a wild magic zone on the map. And 66, as far as level goes, was level 11. There we go. Filling in all the way down. Background number 11. Hey, we finally have a sailor or pirate. Ooh. Choices, choices. So think about this as we're developing the personality of this character. Would you see this character as a sailor or a pirate? And pirates don't have to be intrinsically evil or bad people, as you have things kind of like privateers, which are kind of like bounty hunters for pirates, and so they pirate the pirates, if that makes sense. You can have a good pirate in that sense. Catching up. Okay, yeah, circles have to connect. It's too late already. A quarter through the torso. Yep, Dark Wolf providing inspiration. Bobicus continues the tale. Some saves go bad, don't they all? Well, don't they some? And so, one of the party rushes forward and applies a heal kit to stabilize Ash, who is now making death saving throws. The cleric is incensed at this and responds with a level 3 thunder wave. Ooh. By the way, being a sailor or pirate, and possibly with a bad reputation. Now, a bad reputation doesn't mean that they're a bad person. That could just mean that as a sailor or as a pirate. Are you interested in the Dread Pirate Roberts franchise? Maybe you have a bad reputation for gambling and then sailing off before you can pay your debts. Maybe you have a bad reputation of, you know... you have a woman in every port, or a man, whatever. Maybe you have a bad reputation of something else, and so that's something that we can also consider, and that they do bring up in, the player's handbook, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so there's no other things that we need to worry about for Sailor. So we're going to roll 2d8 personality traits. 2 and 2. Well, the first one's 2. Now, if you're rolling this character at home and you get something like this, maybe this is a singular personality trait. Pardon me, random hiccup. But he doubles down on it. He is super intent on this. For what we're doing, I want a little bit more guidelines, a little bit more, you know, outline to this. Okay, here we go, and a 4. 3d6 will give us the other personality, well, not the personality trait specifically, but to flesh out the background. We have a 1, a 3, and a 5. Bobicus says, rewind a couple days, the cleric has promised the party a MacGuffin upon completion of a quest, and fast forward, the party has completed the quest and returns to be greeted with a trial. Oh yeah, so that's like that's the Jafar, right, in Aladdin, because we were talking about Aladdin last night. You know, here is your reward, your eternal reward. And by the way, if any of you in the audience do not know what a MacGuffin is, that is standard game terms. Here you're learning the linguistics of D&D and other role-playing games. A MacGuffin is a major plot item, right? It's the One Ring in Lord of the Rings. It's a magic crystal that, you know, it's the only thing that can stop the evil. It's the only thing that can contain the spirit. It's, and I'm not saying that in a contrived way, like it doesn't have importance, but the MacGuffin is just the name of the thing that is very vital to the plot and can even empower the plot or lead the players or the reader or whatever on their goal. Guy, thinking quickly, shouts, I will slit his throat myself if you promise to uphold our bargain. The cleric is on the up. The ash has stolen from the temple. The cleric is on the up. The ash has stolen from the temple. Am I not reading that correctly? I'm sorry if I'm mangling your words, Bob. Ash, the dying player. Right, Ash is the one who was poisoned. The poisoned monk, right? Ash has been sentenced to death for stealing from the monastery. The judgment is fair, if hasty and severe. Okay, now, okay. So the cleric is the antagonist. Your party, including Guy and Ash, have been, well, particularly Ash, stole something from this cleric. And the cleric sort of immediately said, drink this, and if you live, the gods have proven that, you know, you're innocent. And you're trying to step up then as Guy, and you want to sacrifice your own party member to this judgmental cleric in order to continue to be on his good side, / receive the MacGuffin. Did I summarize that correctly? party interfered with the judgment the gods never got to choose. Oh. I think I can see the logic in that. Well, I'm still paying attention. While you're typing, I'm going to roll 2d10, and we're using the highlighted row to determine some high elf stats. We're adding 10 inches, so 5'4". We're taking the same number and multiplying it by 1d4. We're going to add 40 pounds to 90, so 130. And that's just if he's standing in his skivvies. Remember, that doesn't include armor, you know, 3 daggers, a heavy helmet, and a book full of secrets or something like that. Percentile for the age range, 30. 30 is a young adult. And for elves, their adulthood, their young adulthood starts at 100. They can live for quite a while here, so we can probably go about 125 years. 104. Oh, he's a spry 204 years old. I don't know if it would be that much, though, right? If it's to 750, and that's physically venerable, it might be a little bit less. I could make a subchart off of this, actually. I probably should. Let's do something like 75. I'm sorry, I'm going to retcon that as a DM. Okay. 130 here. Because 134 is more reasonable. Come on now. Okay, so to continue Babaka's story, the party interfered with the judgment the gods never got to choose. So the cleric wants to finish the execution manually, and Guy volunteers himself to carry out the sentence to preserve the MacGuffin and settle the conflict. And that's how I slit a fellow PC's throat while he was incapacitated. Thank you. Now, the follow-up question, and I appreciate you actually kind of doing the Tarantino bit, right? You set the scene, right? There's this tension in a temple, and we have a judgmental cleric who's furious at this theft, and there's, you know, some underlying logic to this. What was the reaction at the table among the players and the DM, since you painted a very good in-character scene first? Because bits of wisdom like this are really good for us to glean if we ever encounter situations that are similar. Okay, by the way, we have finished with this. Goodbye. And now we're going into backgrounds. Remember that we use backgrounds first because of what they give us, and then we're going to try and make it not redundant with race and class stuff. Folk hero, Outlander, Sage, and finally a Sailor. Yeah, this is our first one. Yeah, so there you go, Bobicus. We should be cheering you and sending you a couple bits. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in knowing what happened in the dining room chairs or in the chairs that people were sitting. You sailed on a sea-going vessel for years. In that time you faced down mighty storms, monsters of the deep, and those who wanted to sink your craft to the bottomless depths. Your first love is the distant line of the horizon, but time has come to try your hand at something new. Discuss the nature of your ship you previously sailed with your dungeon master. Was it a merchant ship, a naval vessel, a ship of discovery, or a pirate ship? How famous or infamous is it? Is it widely traveled? Is it still sailing? Or is it missing and presumed lost? So these are things that we can think about for this character too. And even, I don't know, I as a DM, what if we make him the captain of his own kind of smaller ship? It might not be, you know, a 40-man crew deck or something, but having access to a ship and needing to, you know, do some travel across this inland sea, that could be important. And so I think as part of the character, we could consider, hey, maybe there's a ship of some kind, and we can go from there. What were your duties on board? Boatswain, captain, navigator, cook, or some other position? Who was the captain and first mate? Did you leave your ship on good terms or on the run? Maybe we can think of Captain Jack Sparrow, right? Proficiencies, athletics, and perception. Babacus says, afterwards we had to have a lot of out of character discussion. Two of the party were very against Guy's decision and didn't really understand how quickly he had gone from "you mongrel cur" and splashing the cup in the cleric's face to carrying out the judgment himself. And Jam Jam prances in with a wig and spiked club. That's a very colorful description too, Jam Jam. And so Babacus said, I explained that while Guy was convinced that the trial was hasty, severe, and that the cleric's judgment was poor... Oh, you're keeping me on edge. Come on, type more quickly. I gotta know. Ah! I gotta hear this story, Babacus. But he never doubted that the cleric had the authority to carry out the sentence. Okay. So, kind of, you're going to reach the end anyway, so the means weren't as relevant. Dark Wolf says maybe he lost his old crew. He tries to hire the party. Oh, that's a good idea, Dark Wolf. We might be able to incorporate that. Hang on to that idea, okay? The sentence, separating the judge from the law. Guy hated the judge but obeyed the law. And out of curiosity, Babacus, because I know that you had a discussion, you did have a discussion with Shadzar about such things. Did you feel that you were, like, were you sticking to the character's alignment, or was this, did this change your character's alignment? Did you actually sort of, like, have an epiphany and do a break, or how did this interact? Now let's kind of blend the two, right? You talked completely in character, and you said that you discussed things out of character, and I completely understand that there would be questions at your table. So kind of now blend the two. How did this come down to the linchpin of alignment, or was that not even a consideration? All right, so you get a belaying pin, which is a club. If you've seen kind of older ship movies, it's in the rail, there's a bunch of holes, and they'll put a pin in it, and you can tie a rope and other things around it. But for mechanical purposes, it's a club. "50 feet of silken rope." Ooh, silk, silken silk. He's a trader. Oh. We're going to have to think of some kind of a lucky charm that he has. What kind of maybe a superstition does he believe in? Yeah, or it says we can roll for a trinket, so it could be a trinket. We haven't done much with trinkets on the stream. I kind of meant to give characters trinkets as fun ways to help fill them out, but maybe we'll do a trinket. If you have a suggestion, though, please feel free to share it. Common clothes and a belt pouch with 15 gold. I'm sorry, 10 gold. 10. Babacus says it wasn't about alignment. I mean, he was lawful neutral, and this is sort of standard fare, but Guy's just a very principled yet pragmatic person, and that's what informed his actions. Although principled, pragmatic is a very good way of describing lawful neutral. It's just not the terms I was thinking in. Okay. Oh, and Grim has a little bit of artwork, I guess. Oh, there we go. If you all can see a little bit there, so Grim's been making a lot of little circles here for the chainmail. Thanks for the update on that, Grim. And hopefully, I get what you're saying, Babacus, and that's an interesting way of thinking, and especially removing yourself from your character with that kind of clinical detachment. Even if you weren't aware, like you seem to have gotten into some kind of a good zone or mentality with this character. And so any of you who are watching this, in my opinion, Bobicus just gave a very good example of, I mean, I'll say it's an advanced technique. It's not like a martial arts, like a triple black belt where you have to have studied for 10 years or something. But what Bobicus is describing is, it's just one of those next step ways that you run your character. And the way that you think about your character and your character's actions. Playing otherwise, there's all kinds of play style. I'm not going to poo-poo on them. Though in this instance, and again, Bobicus, thank you for sharing this story, and continue it if there's more. But in this case, I think Bobicus has given us like a good solid, like, you know, if a lot of what we do is D&D 101, this was probably like a 301 intro. Our feature is Ship's Passage. When you need to, you can secure free passage on a sailing ship for yourself and your adventuring companions. You might sail on the ship you served on, or another ship you have good relations with, besides one accompanied by a former crewmate. Because you're calling in a favor, you can't be certain of a schedule or route that will meet your every need. Your dungeon master will determine how long it takes for you to get where you need to go. In return for your free passage, you and your companions are expected to assist the crew during the voyage. So he may not own a ship, even. I mean, we could consider giving him one, depending on the other things that we roll up. But maybe he just has a winning smile and he can get on his old ship. Maybe there's just like a trade route ship that goes around, and he was on that. Everyone knows him. Everyone loves him because he was wacky. Maybe provided a distraction. Hopefully didn't set the ship on fire. We might not want to give this character a lot of fire powers just in case. Jam Jam is feeling a little frisky here and goes into the forest. You roll at advantage. Oh no, you're just shy. At least you didn't fall on your sword, Jam. Oi, off me booty. Okay, here is our character's personality. We start with a 2. I work hard so that I can play hard when the work is done. And number 4, I stretch the truth for the sake of a good story. Ooh. Especially having charisma. That might mean if we have something like deception open to us, we might want to take deception as a skill, right? So these story elements are going to influence our mechanical elements, since we're giving preference to story first. Ideals is number 1. This is respect. The thing that keeps a ship together is mutual respect between captain and crew. He probably justifies the lying by saying, look, I lie to fill in the gaps. I'm trying to make things smooth. I don't want there to be mutiny. I don't want there to be strife. I just want to get from port A to port B and go from there. And besides, everyone likes my fancy tales anyway. Bonds, number 3. I'll always remember my first ship, and this is going to be important then, whether or not it's the ship that he can secure passage on. It might not be the ship that he necessarily owns, but this is making this ship a kind of sub-character to this one. And his flaws, because we are all flawed creatures, is number 5. I can't help but pocket loose coins and other trinkets I come across. Wouldn't this be funny? Actually, wait a second. Okay. This wasn't it. If you remember, there's an Outlander style that says they often pick up trinkets and break them. Wouldn't that be funny if we ended up generating a character where they had that as a personality trait, and it would be almost an unconscious race between these two characters during an imaginary session that we're having here. It'd almost be an unconscious race for one to pocket it or for one to pick it up and accidentally break it. Oh gosh. Oh, well, we kind of have something like that. They may not be broken, but there is going to be kind of this unconscious race because Follis here does hide trinkets away in his pockets. All right. Oh, jam. Jam, 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 jam. That's Jam Jam X3. Oh, Peru was going through the plains. You do roll an advantage. Hey, Peru wins 75 EXP. Okay, we have a lot of information about our sailor character now. We can then, let's determine if a sailor or if pirate was more appropriate. Here's the variant. You spent your youth under the sway of a dread pirate. Okay, so in this case it's a ruthless cutthroat, but again, we could go for like a privateer if needed. A ruthless cutthroat who taught you how to survive in a world of sharks and savages. You've indulged in larceny in the high seas and sent more than one deserving soul to a briny grave. Fear and bloodshed are no strangers to you, and you've garnered somewhat of an unsavory reputation in many a port town. If you decide that your sailing career involved piracy, you can choose the bad reputation feature instead of ship's passage. I don't know. So we can swap this out. We can even say you can have a bad reputation as a sailor. As your DM, if we were creating this, I'd say you can have a bad reputation as a sailor. Otherwise, you don't have to be murderous to have a bad rep among different ports. Soraya picks up and breaks things. I haven't found anything that caught her interest yet. Yeah, Soraya did. You had the there's all those 13 like trinkets in the alcoves that you could pick up and break. Actually, did Soraya pick up that withered direwolf's tongue that was in the chest? Okay. Maybe we'll keep him there for now. We can change this. Just keep it in mind if something else happens. It's storytelling, you know. Whatevers. Let's go to races. Elves. There we go. And come down this way. Our dex score increases by 2. Our alignment, okay, not worried about that. We do have a 30 base speed. We do have dark vision. We have proficiency in the perception skill. Because this is redundant and it does interact with sailor, we could do 2 things here. We could give him a 1 skill expertise if we really want him to be perceptive, or we can say, what else would a sailor be good at doing? And in this case, because we have a redundant skill, maybe we could assign it elsewhere. Well, if we look at his personality traits that we randomly generated, right, we can reap the reward because we put up the risk up front with a random generation. He stretches the truth for the sake of a good story, so maybe our floater could actually go in deception like what we were talking about. Does that make sense? Okay, she grabbed the mouse, okay. The mouse dagger. Or it was like, yeah, the dagger with like the rat skull set in the pommel. We also have Fey ancestry. Elves do make good sailors because they don't need to sleep 8 hours. We can also trance. That's what I was talking about. And we do get some languages. Common, Elven. And then our subrace is High Elf. Good background here. We're going to increase our intelligence by 1. We do get elf weapon training as well. So we have those and... Wait. Espo. There we go. You know one cantrip of your choice from the wizard spell list. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for it. And an extra language. Okay, we will get to choose one other language that seems appropriate for the party composition, the area that we're in. Halfling and Gnome would be very powerful languages here, because much to King Von Alay's dread of the short races, there are a lot of them that we generated to live in this area. I don't know, is King on right now? Let's check. No, he's not, so let's keep this a secret. You don't think she'll break that, though? Well, it's your character. It's your choice. Okay, and while we're making a note here, we get... High Elf, we're going to get Wizard Cantrip. There we go. Noted. Tiefling language for Mesomasca. That's true. Infernal could be a language that this character learns too. Yeah. So keep that in mind too. Float the ideas. Let's go over to classes. Go down to Sorc. Level 11, so we're looking at this line right here and above. We have a +4 proficiency bonus. And we're going to get... Well, we're going to get 2 ability score adjustments because we didn't roll that we're going to be taking any feats. And... Okay, we have D6s. There's going to be 11 D6 for hit dice. Which, for those of you who are in the audience who play in my Curse of Strahd game at the store, you might discover what hit dice are going to be doing after the next session, or like during when you resolve the conflict. We'll put it that way. We know armor proficiencies, and we do get some more specialized weapons. Dagger, dart, sling, quarterstaffs, light crossbow. Okay. No tool proficiencies. Saving throws are going to be Con and Chaw. Skills. Choose 2 from Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. Well, we have a chaotic neutral sailing sorcerer who uses wild magic. He works hard so he can play hard. He does stretch the truth, but we already have him in deception. The thing that keeps the ship together is mutual respect. So I think something like persuasion would be very important for him. He'll always remember his first ship, and he can't help but pocket loose coins. Well, sleight of hand isn't exactly something that's available right now. Though if he took a feat, maybe he'd want that. Not that you need sleight of hand to be proficient in it to pocket coins, but, you know, whatever. So I think persuasion would be a good one, based on his personality. And then the other one. Intimidation might work as well. Because if you need to pull rank on a ship, or if you need to try and stop someone from being surly, especially if it's a sailor or a drunken sailor, then I believe that we have a strong case for intimidation. If you think it should be something else, please share in the chat. This is our character we're building together. Actually, now that he's really coming together, we can go from a starship and its medical bay to... it's not quite Ocean Man, the song, but here's some open ocean music to get us in the mood. We get to start with a light crossbow and 20 bolts or any simple weapon. We'll say a light crossbow with... There we go. A component pouch or an arcane focus. We'll probably go for an arcane focus because having a lot of pockets and whatnot on a ship, that's a lot of stuff that you could possibly lose. So he's probably learned to try and focus his magic through an implement of some kind. A Dungeoneer's pack or an Explorer's pack. Well, let's see. You know, he does a lot of sailing. There might be some interesting things in a Dungeoneer's pack still. Let's take a look at that real quick, just to make sure. Pardon me. Oh, did I pass it? Yeah, there we go. Dungeoneer's pack, backpack, crowbar, hammer, pitons, torches, tinderbox, rations, water skin. Has 50 feet of hempen rope strapped to the side of it. And an explorer's backpack, bedroll, mess kit, tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 days of rations, and a water skin. And it also has 50 feet of hempen rope. Well, I would almost say that the Dungeoneer's pack could almost be like a sailor's pack, right? You have these tools for prying up boards and doing things. We have a crowbar and a hammer, and these pitons you can drive into a wooden mast in order to be able to climb it. So, while it is a Dungeoneer's pack, I think this would work for him. There we go. Okay. Let's pop back up to Sorcerer. And 2 daggers. King. Oh, hey, King. We were actually just talking about you. And not in bad ways. We have a Sorcerer who is using wild magic and is a sailor in, and of all things, right, of the area that we generated last night. Boom. Look at that. I think a sailor would fit in well, and this is the first sailor that we've rolled up randomly. Oh, and a high elf at that. And if you remember, we had the high elves coming into the desert country as conquerors, and they're the racial majority. Yeah, I agree, King, and this worked out perfectly. And on top of that, you know what? Because you were talking about, you know, how high elves have standards and whatnot. This is a high elf that we rolled. Boop-a-doo. Alright, we'll come back to spellcasting in just a little bit here. We took our Wild Magic Sorceress Origin. Our class, it will give us... Yes, Windows Defender, I gotcha. Font of Magic. And this is our sorcery points. And we'll label that down. Flexible casting. And we're going to get some meta magic at level 11. Okay, 3rd level. We gain another one at 10th, so we're actually going to have a 3rd meta magic feat. So we need to think which meta magic feats are going to work best for someone, this chaotic, neutral, wild magic sorcerer who is a sailor. Probably something like distance spell. This will double the range of a spell, right? So if you need to like fend off pirates coming at you, I think that one seems quite obvious. And maybe even careful spell too, if you're casting something on the deck of a ship and you want to exclude portions. And feel free to, if you can read that clearly on your screen. If not, I can go over what these do, and you can always ask for specifics. So yeah, we needed a sailor for the setting. The dice giveth exactly what you need. Dice gods are always just. That is true. Everyone invokes RNGesus, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Though, we truly know that Statisticus is the god of dice and probability. To stop mutiny and whatnot, would be handy to have intimidation. I agree, Peru. Also for getting deals on different goods when you reach a port. Yeah, you know what? Because sometimes haggling isn't just having a pretty face. Haggling is, no, I'm gonna, like, I'll punch you if you don't give this to me. And the guy's like, alright, I see that you're tough. I'll give you the deal. Ha ha ha. Yeah, here you go, tough guy. Extended spell for water breathing and water walking actually would be a good idea for this guy. Ooh, yeah. That's true. When you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum duration of 24 hours. There are many dice gods with many purposes. Oh, so do we have a polyhedral pantheon of some kind, King? Nice suggestion though, Bobicus. Also, King, I don't think you were in the chat at the time. Bobicus shared an awesome story at what happened at his tabletop. Maybe if you bat your eyelashes really nicely and say please, he could recount it. But Bobicus had a really cool incident that he shared with us. Polyhedral Panther. You know, King, I called mine the Decagon because there were 10 of them. And so it's like Pantheon, a Pantheon of 10, a Decagon. I thought I was clever. Alright, so he didn't have a Draconic bloodline, but that would work in the environment that we made as well, because remember, this was a dragon graveyard over here. Yet, this is a wild magic area over here, which the crater kind of extends and probably goes out to the sea a little bit. Bet there's some interesting naval battles that could be fought here, right? Nuffle would have to be a dice god. He has enough worshippers. Nuffle? I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that term. Or is that like Nuffy? Am I just not seeing? A lot of the non-D&D systems I play use D10, so I'm usually at the mercy of Decagon. Yes. You can post it in the Discord. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. And you know what? Especially Bobicus, because King was really good at giving some feedback to our new viewer that we got yesterday. And is he in here? No, he's not in here right now. But yeah, that'd be really cool if you were to share that. Especially because there are, for whatever reason, people can't always make it to every broadcast, and if you put it in the Discord, hey, that'd be pretty cool. Oh, from Blood Bowl. Okay. Wild magic. We get Wild Magic Surge. Tides of Chaos. Starting at first level, you can manipulate the forces of chance and chouse to give advantage on an attack roll. Oh, yeah, that was pretty good. And plus it says tides, get it? Bad luck. All the more reason he needs to have a lucky charm, right? And we're not quite at controlled chaos yet. Well, hopefully found it useful and you didn't hammer the joy out of him. Probably not. I don't think he left the channel. Because it was Lord Diaz, and no, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that he left. So he's probably still around. I didn't get any private messages or anything saying, "Oh my gosh, what an a-hole" or whatever. Pardon my French Canadian. Right, EH. Wah, wah. Well, if we found it useful and didn't hammer. Okay. So, there's a couple things we need to consider. As we're generating him, he is a level 11 wild magic sorcerer, and he has lived 134 years. He's probably been casting magic for a good portion of this, especially considering young adulthood, right? The cultural for humans, it's like 16 to 18 is like when you're an adult, but you're a young adult. So he's 134, still a young adult. He's probably been casting magic, honestly, for about 100 years. What did we name the sea? There's not a name for the sea or even the region yet, King. I'm open-minded to it. Right now, I save the file as sea region. Because that's original. So, let's see. You have a 5% chance to roll a 1. And so that's 1 out of every 20 years. He's probably been casting magic for about 100 years. So why don't we say that we give him 5 different rolls and see if any of them have affected him along the way. We're going to roll a percentile die 5 times and see what happens to him over the course of this magic use. You're just pondering his spell focus and wondered if there'd be an existing something you can draw existence from. Well, as the background gave him, he does get a lucky charm, and it recommended rolling a trinket, so we can do a random trinket, King. Otherwise, if there's something else, he could use the lucky charm as his spell focus. It also gave him a belay pin, which is a club. But flavorfully, this is a belay pin, probably from his home ship that he remembers fondly. And this could technically be a spell focus, I guess, or otherwise, we could fluff it as such. And it was suggested that Infernal is the 3rd language that he learns, but there is a language slot that's open too. So, more things to think about. Let's see what happens with these rolls. A 63. You cast Fog Clouds centered on yourself. Okay, that was probably embarrassing. 19. You cast Grease centered on yourself. Oh. You know, you've heard of, like, wetting yourself in the middle of being afraid, but greasing yourself? 93. Your size increases by 1 size category for the next minute. Oh. That would be interesting. I wonder what spell he was casting at the time. 55. Your hair falls out but grows back within 24 hours. See, all these are tales that he can tell, right? And 13. You cast Confusion centered on yourself. Alright, so he didn't turn green, he didn't increase like D6 inches or anything along those lines. But he certainly had some tales to tell. And maybe we can put these as sort of a background note in case the player ever wants to say, oh, and there was that one time. $63, 19, 93, 55, and 13. Dark Wolf is suggesting that it's named the Astragon Sea. If it's a club, it could be more like a blackjack. Yeah, like it could be that, or well, maybe not a blackjack per se, because it's specifically a belay pin, which is you know, like it is pretty much just a club, but a blackjack is more like the weighted sack that you know, you could waylay someone with. Unless I'm having a different am I thinking sap? I might be thinking sap. If so, I'm sorry, Mr. Grimm. Is blackjack maybe one of those collapsible wands? I'm kind of getting some weapons mixed up. Sorry about that. All right. We have this, so now we need to drop in we need to drop in some stats. Charisma. Charisma for the sailor. We do get athletics. Strength should probably be... yeah, strength and dex. I don't think strength is going to be his dump stat, though. This could be tough. I'm certainly looking for input here. Wisdom, intimidation. We get a bump in intelligence, but is that necessarily important? I don't think so. He is a high elf, but he's been sailing a lot. He has these natural inborn powers as a sorcerer, so he doesn't have to study. So really, if he's if we make him a little bit more wisdom, he just sees the world around him, and he can create stories like that using his instincts. Dex is for the sea, and Dex for the sea needed. Yeah, I can see that. So let's just, I don't know, we'll play with it, right? I can always hit the backspace button. If we want to be really saucy, we can say that we'll give him an 8 Constitution. Maybe he gets seasick kind of easily, but maybe he uses his magic to suppress it, or or something like that, or he's just I don't know. Maybe that doesn't stick, but we're thinking, right? Something like that. I don't know. That seems kind of good. What are your opinions on that stat spread? Maybe some con for seasickness. Oh, so all right. So Peru kind of was the other side of the same coin. There are always legends from the sea. Oh, hi, Big Mike. Welcome, and thank you for commenting. As you see, we're building a character, and I'm certainly looking for input. You're seeing the personality here that we generated randomly. All the stats here are random. Although I think you've been in the channel before, so I'm probably being redundant. So if this is not new to you, then please pardon me. So yeah, he might be a little frail, but you know what? That's kind of what you have magic for. Maybe we can pick him a sorcery spell to help that out some. There are always legends from the sea. So yeah, having a little slightly higher intelligence would be good for that as well. All right, so this is going to bump up his intelligence to 14 and his dex to 16. You'd swap the intelligence and wisdom yourself, and nope, you're new. Oh, all right, well. You like the flaw, captain that gets sick while sailing? Well, he may not necessarily be a captain. I'm being open-minded for this, that maybe he can be. Though he can also just have been ingratiated himself on the boat that travels around. Something along those lines. I'm willing to entertain all of this as we're developing the character. Oh, come on, don't put an ellipses after okay, Peru. Big Mike is advocating for the swap of intelligence, so that would put that at 13 and 13 if we did it that way. He'd be the mystery crewman of a human vessel who's trying to lay low. Now we have 2 ability score increases, or ASIs, that we need to assign. We can probably give 3 of the 4 points to charisma and raise that to an 18. And then we could bump up either wisdom or intelligence. We do have perception as a wisdom skill, and that's about it. So 51-49, we could put the other point in wisdom to raise that up. He might not be anyone special on an elven ship. If he's trying to climb rank, then 130 years is enough to outrank humans and get him to be captain. Yeah, if he was serving on a solid ship, unless he was on an elven ship, right? Because that crew would get to know each other really well. Or he's chaotic neutral. He could just be flitting from ship to ship, but he always comes back to, you know, the one. There's a lot of things that we can do. Jam Jam wants to try and farm some experience points. 50 is on the line. 16 and 2 at advantage, and you get 50 EXP, Jam Jam. Big Mike is saying, or keep intelligence and have him as something of a navigator. 130 years would be a lot of time on the sea to chart stars, if that's his thing. Yeah, well, I mean, intelligence and wisdom are the same. I mean, we could argue a navigator's tools are intelligence, or that he would need a higher wisdom to see the stars and to sense his surroundings. Kind of, you know, 6 to 1, half dozen of the other. I get what you're going for, Big Mike, and certainly, like, keep thinking and let's theory craft this character into existence. He could be the secret edge that a captain employs to make his travels easier. A lot of wiggle room. And you know what we could even do, King, is make sure that one of his spells is Alter Self, and so he can make himself appear as someone else, so he can be, kind of as you say, right? He's the fresh new deckhand. Now, he knows how to do his job, but he's the fresh new deckhand, and he's going to try and keep people in line. Because a cabin boy, he is no longer. Pipes clean or otherwise, and if any of you get that reference, then... Embrace the powerful tacos, he chants to the defeated warg in a comical manner. Dark Wolf is out for blood. By the way, Dark Wolf was in first place in EXP last night. It was completely crazy, and she got so powerful that she ended up defeating herself. She may have died on her own sword. Fortunately, he's proficient in con saves, so he may have learned how to stave off some of that seasickness a little bit naturally. He doesn't have a high con himself, but that experience taught him something. 1, 2, and 8. He's the face of the party, all right. Bobicus, you posted it on Discord with some minor tweaks. Yeah, King. Hey, give it a read, and I'm sure Bobicus, and I know I would be interested in your feedback on Bobicus's encounter as well. Acrobatics. 3. So he has that sleight of hand for pocketing those coins. He's not proficient, but he's not going to be terrible at it. Athletics, he's going to be proficient. He's going to have that 4. He's letting some of this natural talent take over. Animal handling is wisdom, so that's going to be a 2. 6 to 2. 2. Int is a 1. 1. I'm calling giants off of an attendance list. 1. And persuasion 8. Intimidation 8. Deception 8. Oh, these two? This character and the one we rolled last night, Deliaha, this is going to be interesting. We're almost going to have like a Lupin and Fujiko thing going on, I think. Because they're both these like face deceivers, and and one might treat it like a calculated game, and the other one might just react like, oh, this is a game. I'm going to play and win. Oh, the character interactions these two players would have. Our passive wisdom perception is going to be a 16. Not too shabby. Wearing a hat like that? Yes, Del. It is madness. It is blasphemy. And as I said at the beginning, if you're my enemy and I can't see you, you can't see me. Alright, King. See you when you come back. It's a very chaotic party made up of mostly non-chaotic characters. That's true. It is a very very neutrally oriented, but that's going to be fine in a political campaign among several nations. Yeah. Peekaboo. Oh, baby faces. 10th level spell granted. Yes, the coveted 10th level spell from the DM. Alright, so we manufactured stats, meaning our character's not about, not that they were ever about stats, but stats aren't as important anymore. This opens up the character's name. We can start thinking of a name and an appearance for the character, because really one of the last things that we have to do, longsword, dagger, dart. We're technically not even proficient in the club, but we probably just carry it for funsies. So we have a +0 to hit with it. I'll have to look up the damage type in a second here. I think crossbows are D8s. If I am wrong, please correct me. I almost want to say clubs are D6s. Jam stole my hat. Oh, goodness. Stole my hat again, even. This is the second time. What's the world coming to? Okay, so remember, we need a lucky... the lucky charm, actually, we're going to do... we can do a trinket. That's going to be a percentile roll. We do need a language, and then we need to think of some very basic physical features. Eyes, skin, and hair, and a name. That'll be coming up here. Though, let's get the magic stuff done here. Okay, we have our meta magics. We are going to go down to page 3. We're casting off of Cha. 8 plus 4 is 12. Plus our proficiency is 16. This is going to be a +8 for our spell attacks. And our Sorcerer has... let me look at this real quick. 11th level, we have 11 sorcery points. We are also going to be getting 6 cantrips. And 12 spells known. Alright, so what we do normally, right? We have first level, and we know 2 spells of level 1. Oh, I better fill in this other stuff first here. Hang on. 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, and 1. There we go. This is a reminder for us, or if our DM ever wanted to look at our page, about when we took the different spells that we have. There's nothing saying that on our 7th level spell we could go back and we could take a level 1 spell at 7th level. And this is identifying then when we're getting these spells. Oh, a regular club is a D4 and crossbows are D6. Okay, I was thinking a little big here. D6 and a club is a D4. Oh, D3. Ooh. Did I say club? Yeah. Thank you, Big Mike. I appreciate that. You saved a little bit of scrolling. Yeah. By the way, Big Mike, again, welcome, and I super appreciate you coming in and you're feeling comfortable participating in the conversation. Ask questions, share stories of your own DM or player experiences. You know, what was your last game like, or are you looking for a game? If you don't know if there's a term that you need looked up also, you can bring that up. And there's a couple chat games and other fun things you can do with our in-channel currency. If you take a peek down below, that'll give you the different commands that you can have some fun and play with. So, all right. Now we're gonna weave this in a wee little bit here, because look, you can see here at second level we know 3 spells, but we can only take first level, meaning that our level 2 spell is going to be here. And we continue on, right, because we learn 1 spell at 3, but we can't go past second, so 3 and 4, and then we have 5 and 6, and so on. So if you really wanted to ride this out, you could just go kind of the if you want to do it the lazy man's way, right? So we have level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8, level 9, level 10, and we get 1 spell at level 11. Again, as we're developing his spells, if we say, you know what, there's really only the 1 3rd level spell that he'll want or need, or that we're conceptualizing him having, we could move level 8 over into 2nd level. There's nothing wrong with that. But now we have our extreme that we have on our spell list, and we can fiddle around with it here, including our cantrips. And specifically, you see that I said the source of this cantrip is because he is a high elf, and so he's going to get a freebie from the wizard list. Delcorin takes a stroll through the forest. Is it a deer? It never is just a deer. A centaur archer pops out. You need 11 or greater, but you have a +3. You're rolling at disadvantage, 2 and a 9. And Delcorin is defeated by a centaur archer. Maybe next time. So there we go. Being a sorcerer, having your health. Now, a couple things to consider that Bobicus brought up too. For him being a sailor, we're probably going to thematically stick to things that might enable better travel on or underwater. And we'll probably avoid fire spells. Because especially with something like wild magic, I mean, wild magic alone could cause a fire. But if it causes, I don't know, a flaming bolt to just, you know, burst out and act like a fireball, then that could be a problem when everything around you is made of resin and hemp and linens and canvas, wood, etc. Yeah, the story of my life. Oh, gosh. Oh, Mr. Grimm posting an update. Actually, we have a couple different things here. I'll bring this over so you all can see it here. I don't know why it's probably because of the size dimensions. All right, so Lord Grimm, during the course of the broadcast, Lord Grimm has been sketching out his character, and for the record, it's a little difficult to see here. He's making chainmail, and he's doing it by making a bunch of little circles. So, I congratulate you for that. Let's see, Delcorin is eating something? Oh, like a Cadbury egg? Craziest egg flavor I've ever tried. Tea-berry. Oh, I don't know, that sounds kind of good. I might have to try that. Being a professional fat guy, I feel like I've missed out on something. And King, okay. For those, oh, by the way, this picture here, this is a blackjack. We are having a conversation on what a blackjack could be. And I mixed it up for a sap, like a kind of a weighted sack that you had someone on the back of the head with. Because he has, this character has a club for mechanical purposes that's a belay pin. And Lord Grimm said, well, maybe it could be a blackjack, and so he provided evidence. So, yeah, thank you. Learning. Education. And for any of you who are curious, Bobicus posted a very interesting thing that happened at his gaming table that is might have dire consequences in and out of his game. So take a look at that. Bobicus, both. I am a professional fat guy, and I'll leave it at that. Homemade by a coworker who's selling them for $125. It wasn't too bad. Ooh. I really want to try one. I'm a jealous fatty. Alright. We've been going for a little bit here. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a quick break, you know, get up, like 5-10 minutes, nothing too bad. I'm going to get up and stretch, and I'm definitely going to make some tea, right? I'm kind of in a tea mood now after seeing that little Cadbury. And we can discuss spells, or we can do spells in kind of the downtime at the end of the session. Because we have a theme for his spells, we know his personality, so assigning him spells won't be too difficult. We've done a lot of the hard work already in getting all of this set up. So, I appreciate you all being here for this. Stick around. We're going to be back in just a wee little bit and continue with DM advice about customizing races out of the PHB in ways that shouldn't break your game. Dun dun dun!